Um, the Mind Reels with Vincent Cloud.
And Scotty Allwood. Hi, hello. I'm over here.
Yeah, and I'm over here most days.
But we're here together. We're here together
Yes.
to discuss a movie because this is the Mind Reels.
Yes, and what movie? None other than 1995's Heavyweights, which is kind of it's a little esoteric to some people. People are like, heavyweights, what do you mean? Is that a boxing movie? I'm like, no, not at all. But there are butter beans in there. So there you go. He was a boxer once. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, we're here to talk about heavyweights. Scott, let me ask you this. Why? What brought this up?
Heavyweights is just a great movie. It's from the mid 90s, from when I was a kid growing up. As a hefty child, I could relate to the main character and the kids within the camp. I never actually went to fat camp, which is what this movie is about. But I felt a lot of what they went through. So, and it's just funny. It has Ben Stiller. And I love Ben Stiller. This is me just looking off into the distance. Ben Stiller's not over there or anything, but if he was, I'd give him one of these. Gnarly, bro. This movie's gnarly.
Wow. You know what? I watched this when it came out. It wasn't in theaters or anything, but I enjoyed it a lot. But I was a skinny child, Scott. One would call me scrawny for the majority of my life until after high school. That's when I started to. I needed this then, not before. Because I was like, at the fat kids. I'm like,
so
never.
We watched it entirely differently then. You were a little skinny asshole, apparently. You laughing at all us fatties. And we were just like, well, if only we could be like you.
Yeah, I would have been on Camp MVP. That's what I would have been, one of the assholes. Although I was really actually nice in real life, but just for the sake of comparison, yeah, I would have been on Camp MVP.
Gotcha. So so you did watch this when you were younger. What were some of the things that you remembered before the rewatch?
Ben Stiller, of course. I think that was my first exposure to him, and he's fucking brilliant in this movie. And then, but I have a great movie memory. So certain lines, the way, like when Josh talks about, he's like, I've been shaving a couple of years. That's been etched in my brain for some reason, because I was like, I don't shave, not yet. That was the one thing. I was like, you fucking lucky fat bastard, you could shave.
You lucky fat bastard. Because now all we wish is that the hair would stop growing in places like that, so we didn't have to shave.
No.
No, you're still wishing? Are you not able to grow magnificent beards?
No, not really. I mean, the best I can give you is like the 5 o'clock shadow look.
Oh, okay.
About it. Yeah. It's supposed to be sexy, but
someday maybe he'll grow it out for us in the Mind Reels episode, and we'll be able to look at his luxurious. We'll give it a tug and see how it does. No.
All right, let's dive into the movie. Okay, we've seen it when we were children. You a little bit younger than I was, but heavier than I was. So now let's travel back to 1995, Scott, and start at the beginning of the film, which is the last day of school. People are trashing the fucking halls.
My God. The school bell rings and people are just throwing any paper they could find. There has to be was it part of the deal that the end of the school year, you had to save up all the paper homework from the year and throw it at the end? Because I also was kind of like confused. Was this a visual joke? Like, was this supposed to be as funny as it seems, where paper and garbage is just falling for the first 3 minutes of this movie nonstop? I loved it.
I don't know. Yeah, it was good. The janitors didn't like it. That's their fucking Black Friday. You know what I mean?
The janitors didn't like it. And Black Friday. Sorry, I'm repeating, but I just find that so funny. I find Vince to be a humorous fella.
Right back at you, sport. So we have to, okay. So we meet our main protagonist, right? But what
Right.
is he
Jerry with the
doing?
G.
What is our yes? But what is our first impression of Jerry?
He is a little pervert because he walks outside and the first thing that you see is kind of just this jock and cheerleader going at it like, oh, as we used to do with the cheerleaders back in after school. But no, like the first thing, let's talk about their perspective. The first thing they want to do after school's over is just make out, horny little shits. No, I mean, we used to be like that. Anyway, back to our main character though. Jerry was walking out, he, and he just stares at this couple kissing who are full on making out. And he doesn't stare just a quick glance and then move on with his life. He walks out and stares for at least 4 to 5 seconds. And that doesn't sound like a long time, but if you count it out, that's a long stinking time, Vince. Like, check it out. Like, pretend I'm the couple and I'm going to count it out. Long time.
Long time to make out or long time to look at people making out? Are you one of those guys who are like, enough, babe? Enough.
Right. After 5 seconds of making out, I'm over it. Let's get to the end.
All right, so what I'm about to say, because this is the opening, you have the song, some popular song at the time, and then I believe
wants to be closer to free.
Is it free? Okay.
What'd you think it was?
I've
Closer to P.
It did sound like P. Okay, well, what I'm getting at is during this moment where you see the character walking and we get a little glimpse of who he is, none of this has to do with being fat. That's the first thing I noticed. He's a pervert. He likes to watch,
Hey, you know what? He misses the bus because he was being a pervert.
Yes, exactly. It has nothing to do with being overweight. Next, he has to throw a baseball, right? They're like, kid, help, and he can't throw a baseball. That has nothing to do with being fat. I mean, look at Babe Ruth. He made that shit work, right? Right? And then he gets like barked at by a dog. That has nothing to do with being chubby.
The kid, right? Maybe the dog hated fat people. I don't know. Maybe it did. We don't know that dog's mentality, Vince. Don't put your thoughts into that dog's mind.
Okay, so all that stuff happens, but then we're finally able to see.
Oh, also,
I don't know. Yeah,
I just wanted to mention that the kid's kind of starting to be an asshole because he goes up to that lemonade stand and gives him like $2 and then drinks the whole pitcher of lemonade because he's wore out from not throwing a baseball well and getting barked at. Like, what? Sorry, your little perverted. How long did he actually stand and watch those people make out? Maybe he was standing there the entire time and got so thirsty because he was. Anyway, but this isn't painting a picture for someone I want to root for, I guess, is my thought process. Like,
exactly.
Man, our main character sucks.
Okay, so he finally gets back to his house. The fucking music's done, and his parents are waiting for him with that actor something. I don't remember.
Jeffrey Tambor.
Well, that's his dad. That's cool. But the guy waiting for him, like Blake Nelson.
Oh, I don't know who that person is.
But doesn't he come off kind of creepy? Like, hi. Hey, Jerry, you want to go to a camp? He's like super smiley and almost like brainwashed or something like that. It's super weird. And I'm like, interesting choice.
Because how the camp actually is at this point is a very fun, cool place to be. And like you said, he is coming off very strangely.
Yeah.
Like, why would you send this person?
Right. So we'll have that part. And then jumping forward just a little bit, when he actually arrives, remember that kid with the stick? He's like, he's just kind of going like that, kind of freaking him out. That doesn't tie in. Camp Hope is actually nice up to that point. So yeah, there's some flaws in the movie, Scott, and we see through them, right?
That's what you get with these detailed responses from us. Don't you fuck around 25 years ago, because we'll come at your ass.
Okay, so he puts in the tape, and he's watching it. It looks like a cool ass fucking camp. And then he realizes, wait a minute, it's a fat camp. Uh, crazy shit. Not crazy
Sorry,
shit. No, okay.
I was just kind of looking over my notes real quick because like, he's watching the tape and there's this thing called the blob that sits in the water, and if you jump on it, it like pops you off of the blob into the water. You fly you off into the air. And then there's go-karts, and Jerry's sitting there like, hee 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 hee, and I'm like right there with him. I'm going, hee 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 hee. Yes, can I? Is this a place now? And can I sign up as an adult? I could, present myself as a fat adult if I needed to. All I would have to do is just take my shirt off, but
Do they
not that I would
offer
want to go to
adult
fat
camp?
camp with children. Is there fat adult camps?
It's like The Biggest Loser. Well, that was a show, I guess.
Sorry, we're
It
getting
turns out
off topic.
unhealthy. Yeah.
It's a camp to lose weight, and Jerry is pissed. Jerry with the G. I can't get over that.
Well, we must move forward. Please try and get over the G part. So there's a little bit of a sitcom sort of beat where he's like, I'm not going to a fat camp, and that's final. And then he's on the airplane going to fat camp.
Right.
Well, it was a little dated humor, I felt.
Record scratch.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm trying to like. That's not a good record. Forget it.
Oh, it's lovely, Scott. Oh my gosh. Just make sure to include a picture of a record being
Okay.
scratched.
It's already been done, so don't even worry about it.
Yes. Okay, so the flight attendant comes up. She's like, "Hey, cutie pie, like the captain likes you," and gives him the captain wings or whatever. Which of course apparently happens to like all the kids, right? Isn't that a thing? Never happened to me, but I wasn't a kid on a plane ever, so.
That's true. I don't have that experience. I was never a child on a plane as well. I didn't take my first flight till mid-20s.
Yeah.
Oops.
And okay, so he gets those wings. That's eventually going to be his name. I actually forgot that his name was Jerry. I was just like, it's Captain. Yeah, that's how I felt.
No, ever since I saw it was Jerry with the G, I was like, Captain Schmapton. They're going to call you Jerry with the G. Gross. How about gross with the G?
We got to call him something else. We can't agree on his name. We're gonna have to call him something else. But
we can call him either or, because his name is Jerry and his nickname is Captain. So I think the viewers at this point will be able to handle the two names for him. It's gonna be okay. Stay with us. His name's Jerry and his nickname's Captain.
You overestimate the audience. Okay, so in comes Kenan Thompson of All That, Good Burger, and now SNL for the past fucking 13 years.
Yes, I will never get enough Kenan Thompson. So to see him here, I'm immediately just like, I feel like someone's welcoming me in with open arms, being like, hey, this is a safe trip. This is a good movie. We got your buddy in here. So this movie's going to be good. But his delivery, he comes up and he's like, head to fat camp. And Jerry's like, no, why do you say that? And then he's like, because you're fat. And his delivery on this line just is why he is in movies and TV, is because he's so good. I can't speak enough good things about Kenan Thompson. And I love him this entire movie.
Yeah, he is very good. His name's Roy. I'm just going to call him Kenan. Or Good Burger. I don't know. One of those things. Or Knuckle Puck. There's so many options. Okay, so let's get back on the ground. The bus shows up. We meet Pat, the fucking counselor, which, by the way, is cool. I've only seen him as Frasier's manager, but it's a good role. I think he does it well. I think he's as positive as he's trying to portray, and I don't know. I don't think he really got any juicier parts than this. This is probably his biggest role.
I don't remember him from anything else. So to me, this is his juiciest role. I don't remember. I never saw Frasier, so I'm not familiar with that. So to me, he is Pat, and Pat is, to me, a confident, cool adult. And that's what you're hoping to run into as a kid. And I'm still working on that, trying to be that for the kids out there in the world. But maybe someday I'll be a good old Pat for some kid out there.
Yeah, man. I actually had the chance to work as a camp counselor, but I saw the ad
And you
before.
said, no way. Fuck that.
No,
Boo.
I would totally be a Pat as long as there's a Nurse Julie there waiting for me. Yeah. All right. Speaking of which, okay, so they finally arrive, and get to meet Tim, the ex-fatty, right? He lost weight.
Ah, yes. Sorry, you're
Yes.
jumping ahead here. I'm trying to come up a little towards where you're at.
Oh
I go
gosh.
into I go into detail, man. There are certain lines where I like that I'm like, I gotta write that down. When they're on the
Oh, go
trip,
ahead.
they're driving through on the bus. He's like, he yells back to one of the campers, "Hey Sam, don't stick your head out the window. We lost 6 kids like that last summer. I'm not going to pick up your head." And I'm just like, this guy is so funny. It's a quote like that makes me immediately on this guy's side no matter what, because he's so just humorous with these kids, but at the same time he's being stern of like, put your head in the goddamn bus, or it'll be sliced off. And we don't want
Right.
that. Nobody wants that.
And the psych out to like going through a drive through.
Oh yes.
That was nice. That was a funny one.
Hey, doesn't this
Um,
kid look like Andy Milonakis?
oh, the guy with the glasses.
Yeah, I could have
Yeah.
swore that was Andy Milonakis, but I looked it up and it doesn't say that it's him.
Well, I thought the kid with the braces was Pugsley from the Addams Family, but he's not. But I grew up watching that movie, thinking like, good for Pugsley. He's another shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, we've been deceived in all likes of children and what they grow up to be. But like you said, we're introduced to Nurse Julie. Pat likes her. So if Pat likes her, then I like her.
Yeah, but he's offered the chance to show her around. And he's like, I don't know where the affirm.
Yeah.
I don't know. He instantly strikes out, man, with a woman who could. I mean, from what I can tell, she is a chubby chaser, man. They do exist out there, Scott.
Okay. She ends up being a chubby chaser, but I don't think she gave off any vibes immediately besides just being cute that she was into Pat.
She
Did she?
plays it cool.
She played it
I don't know.
too
There's
cool because she is cool. And that's why Pat likes her. Not just because she's pretty. She's obviously pretty.
Well, why didn't she go for Lars though? If you don't think she's a chubby chaser, answer that.
Because Lars is an asshole immediately and throughout forever until the end. Actually, he comes around because he's threatened. but yeah, so I like the little back and forth. I do remember thinking before I watched it, there was some kind of being a fat guy going after a cute girl and being scared of that. And I didn't remember. I thought it was with one of the kids, but it turned out to be Pat, which made me like it even more because now I'm like 34-year-old single dude going, oh, maybe some girl out there is a chubby chaser and she'll be okay to come after a fella like me.
Yeah, man. I mean, her dad was probably fat. That's what I'm guessing.
Oh, why are we even talking about this? What the hell? All right.
I don't know. I
So
don't know. Okay. So next week we go into the cabin, chipmunks,
the
which is the
chipmunk
main.
monk.
Yes, the main group that we're gonna see throughout the movie, because there's like a bunch of people in this camp, but we're only gonna see from the perspective of the chipmunks. There we meet Josh, who is from fucking what's his name? Was he
He was
Goldberg
Goldberg in the
from?
Mighty Ducks, and he was always
Oh,
my favorite. Always my favorite. That's
and
all I have
he's
to say about
terrific.
him at this
Yeah,
moment.
no, he's awesome. He's freaking awesome in this movie. He's the one who's like, hey, we'll call you captain and shit like that.
And I think it's
And
because he just like gives off that cocky energy of like, or that confidence of, hey, we're here, let's have fun, like we got you, you're one of us now type thing. And I'm like, Josh, take Captain under your wings.
Captain says, "Hey man, I brought some candy or whatever," and he's like, "Oh yeah, chipmunks download," and that's when they fucking like the hollowed out posts of the bunk, and like there's a big hole in the ground, and people got shit strapped to them like fucking dynamite, but it's like
Yes,
baloney and
yes.
stuff like that.
I was going to mention one of the kids has salamis taped to it, like duct taped to his back. And I just love the fact that some kid brought some salami. Like he's like, oh, I got to get snacks. Hey, do we have foot long salamis that I can strap on real quick? Oh, I love it.
Oh, it's so weird. Real quick, this reminds me that one time I had a roommate who was a heavier set gal, real cool. Um, but I remember one day I was locked out of the house, and I didn't have my key on me. I was drunk as shit, and I was like, "Oh God, I gotta break into my own place." But only her window was unlocked, so I crawl in there. And when I'm in there and I fall down to the floor, I look under her bed is like a case of cookies, an entire box of cookies. I'm like, damn.
Does she know this story?
No. And hopefully she doesn't listen to podcasts or watch them.
Oh no! Oh no! No!
She's a good chick. Good chick.
All right. Well, at least she's a good gal. But they're so they're all taking off candy everywhere. There's a character that has like he takes off his shirt, but it's all melted to him. And Josh is like from the background, hey, grab a taste. So the kid like takes his hand and just wipes it across the melted chocolate and licks it. And then they all just dive onto him. I'm like eating this melted chocolate off of this little kid. It's so funny to me.
Yeah, and it's the redhead guy with the glasses. He does the first taste, and I'm like, is that the same guy from Mighty Ducks? Remember there was a redheaded dude with glasses, and
Yeah,
I was like, he's in here too, just because Keenan and Josh are in this movie, and I think this was right after D2.
right.
Yeah.
It's not the same
But it's
person,
not.
though, right?
It's,
right.
No, it's not. I'm just saying, like, when I watched it, I'm like, oh my God, they got everyone. Where's Emilio?
Where's Emilio? Emilio.
Yeah, exactly. I heard someone reference that, and I'm like, how many people have seen the Roxbury? And I think that's the only thing people remember is the Emilio part. Yeah, you froze up too, Scott.
I mean, it's a great moment to remember. It's a great moment. So okay by me.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's get into the little segment of the Blob. We finally get to see that in action. People are like, it looks fucking fun. I've never done the Blob.
I was gonna say, have you ever done the Blob? Because I have not, and I was hoping that you would have experienced that, because I don't know of a situation to where we'll ever be able to at this point in our lives.
In a way, I did. That roommate I was mentioning, we hooked up once. Oh, that's a terrible joke. All right. So next we get to the part with the under new management. This scene's crazy. This is where Ben Stiller's dad, Jerry Stiller, shows up as one of the old owners.
Yes.
And he's like, apparently they got fucked over, like embezzled or something like that. It's actually really sad, and we'll never actually see them afterwards. They're just screwed from then on.
Right, because then they don't even give him a call after they just give Pat the job at that point. And Pat's not like, yeah. Well, let me call these. No, he's just, yeah, that's too bad. But I will mention that there's a great little moment when they do arrive. They're like, hi. It's just this fun little, because they don't have to put that little stuff in there, but it's like camp. It shows you that it's like camp. It's just nice. I liked it.
Have you ever been to a camp?
I never have, no.
So how the fuck do you know? I've been to camps, or a camp, not official or whatever, but yeah, they're loads of fun, man. So this is you're exactly right. They're conjuring those feelings of like, oh, this is awesome. So this is all to build up because they're like old owners are like new management. I'm sorry, and here he is. In comes fucking Tony Perkis, Ben Stiller, in one of his best roles ever, with a camera, Kenny the cameraman, and all these like fucking fit elite fucking people and shit like that. And this is where he's like, I'm here to make an infomercial, right? Or a video.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's making an infomercial because he mentioned infomercial because later on he mentions about how it's going to be the end of the infomercial at the at like 2 a.m. in the morning or something. So yeah, it's he's trying to get that money.
Right. Kenny the cameraman, he's an old standbyer of Adam Sandler movies. He was in Grandma's Boy and shit like that.
Alan Covert, we love you.
And that's his name. That's sweet. Never knew. Okay, so he's there, and he mentions how he's been privately tutored all his life, and he's like, I'm so eager to finally interact with children. So he's just been.
I love it because he's like, oh, I've never interacted with children. I'm gonna buy a camp and have that be my first time. What?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's going to be completely detached, and there'll be glimpses of him referring to his messed up childhood. Even at the end, when the dad shows up, he's like, yeah, sure, I never held him, but you don't see me whining and complaining or something like that, So you do kind of feel like that is the main thing. When he says, I've been privately tutored my whole life, he has no idea how to interact with people, never mind children. I just thinking with people in general. Yeah. So one of the best parts is like, he's like, yeah, and he like runs down to get no one reaches out. It's one of those images that burned in my mind over the years. Okay, so now this is the beginning of the end for the camp, where Lars introduces himself to Pat, and he's like, you're fucking in the big house now, or you're in the big log cabin, and you're basically not even a counselor anymore. You'll see Pat just cleaning shit, mowing lawns and raking and stuff like that. It's really kind of like, oh, what the fuck? It's a nice turn. This movie starts to get shitty. It's so good. Yeah.
But yeah, so
okay.
Lars comes into the picture. He places himself in the chipmunk bunk. We just see him snoring. Everybody hates him because of it. And this is where I start to kind of hate the kids a little bit because I'm a snorer. And I'm like, if they hate Lars, they would hate me too. And I don't mean to snore. It's just part of me.
Yeah, again, that shouldn't have anything to do. I guess I want everything to mean something, because it's like, well, do fat kids just hate snoring? No. If you snore, you might not like, I don't know. I always felt like that was a weird thing they threw in there. I'm like, so he snores. But wait, do you have a deviated septum like Lars?
No, I'm just overweight, and that helps people snore, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. How do you know you snore? People say it?
Pretty much anytime I ever stay anywhere, they're like, oh my gosh, you're like totally snoring so loud. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me.
Oh, Lars, we don't hate you.
Oh.
You're just foreign. All right. So let's get to the morning. This is where it starts, where he's like, Tony's on the speaker, and he's like, okay, it's a valuation. Do you have value? Which is a really fucked up thing to say. He's like, no, not yet. So we're gonna be privy to a little bit of a montage where they're sliding, they're falling down, things are wacky and crazy. They're gonna have a weigh-in. Yeah, that's about it. I guess Lars. Oh, the next thing I have is Lars in the buddy system. He hits on Julie or tries
Ah,
to.
yes.
Yes.
That's pretty much it. I mean,
Uh,
he like comes out just pushing kids into the water. And he's like, huh, huh, hey, how's it going? And she is not into it, which makes us like her even more because she's got a heart of gold.
yeah. But okay. All right. All right. I'm just saying. I mean, Chubby Chaser. Lars isn't a bad looking dude, you know? And
No,
from
but
what I
he's
can
he's
tell,
also he's pushing children into water and without their even knowledge.
at a
How does
summer
he
camp, no.
how is he not a bad dude? It's not, listen, like it's not because he's pushing them into water. It's because they don't like him and he's aggressively pushing them into the water. It's not a fun like he got you, and they're looking back going, "Oh Lars," he is going, "Ugh!" And they're going, "Oh."
I'm gonna be Lars' advocate for a second here because he's like, I got them on the body system, which is a good system. Are you
Now that you
gonna how
mention it, like, okay, so the fact that he's pushing him in, he could be thinking, oh, this is going to connect me with the kids. This is fun for everybody. I'm being playful and still doing my job because I have him on the buddy system. God damn it, you just convinced me that he's a good guy and I want him to end up with Julie.
he is a good guy? Remember, he turns. He's actually kind of cool at the end. So I feel like there's a lot of hatred. I mean, you just sided with me about the snoring thing. You were like, well, how could you hate him because he snores? It's kind of superficial, like, oh, we're just meant to hate Lars because he's
Got
foreign.
the
You know what I
accent,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it's
You
justified,
know
really.
what? We're Lars fans because he even
Yeah.
dresses up at the very end, and that's very fun.
And at the dance, he's the only one who's into it.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. We love Lars. We never knew. We never knew.
All right, so next, I just have this written down. It's the baseball scene where Camp MVP shows up. And then,
Yes. That
yeah, there's some baseball comedy.
Pat tries to convince the coach to take it easy on him. The coach refuses. And then you know it's the typical, oh, my arm got hit by the ball. Oh, my face got hit by the ball. Oh, my nuts got hit by the ball. So that's pretty much what this scene consisted of. I'm not saying I didn't laugh every time. I did
Yeah,
because it is always good humor. But yeah, it just kind of hits the normal stops of they're good, we're bad.
yeah. I do appreciate the one physical comedy of Sam, I think his name is, the one with the braces, who I thought was Pugsley, where he like misses and then the baseball bat flies, goes over and hits himself in the head. That was a nice little,
Yes.
good physical comedy. And then there's like a line for the nurse, like they're all lined up with skin knees and shit like that. Um, but yeah, that's the end of that. So on to the part where Tony. Okay, so Tony's searching the cabin, and he already kind of knows some of the tricks. He's like tapping, trying to hear for like the hollowed pegs and stuff like that. And I think he does. Yeah, he does find something, and Roy says something to him, Keenan, and he's like, "I'm not a bad guy. Come here, hug me. Come over here. Come on." And Keenan's like, "All right." And he hugs him, and then he starts to frisk him and finds a Pez dispenser.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, he's packing heat." And the way he unloads it,
Dude, they put a sound effect in where it was like metal bullets hitting the ground.
it was amazing. It was so
Perfect.
good. Okay, and then so he calls Jerry up. He's like, "You there?" And he's looking at him, and he's got these cards. He's just trying to match the face. It's like Gerald, age 11, stuff like that. Tell me who did this, because whoever did this is not your friend. Which I'm gonna give him some love. Is true. The whole point is for them to lose weight. Correct?
Well, I mean, it's labeled a fat camp, but before he came there, it was supposed to be a different. I guess the parents did think that they were going to go there and have their weight managed. So, yes, he's not wrong in this situation.
Yeah, and they don't lose weight during this movie.
Yeah, they just have fun. Or even if Tony wasn't there, they would have just been having fun, being on the blob, going on go-karts, this and that. They wouldn't have been focused on their weight at all. So it would have really just been a summer away, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not what the parents signed up for. They
It's not
signed
what they
up,
paid for.
yeah.
Yeah, like that would be annoying. And just think about this. Think of all the kids that would eventually get diabetes and shit just because they're like, we went to this camp and it was fun and we gained weight. It was great.
I'm not on,
Yeah.
no, fuck that. I'm not on the side of yours right now. Just
Sorry,
let
as
them
soon
go
as
to
I
their camp. Let them go to their camp, have their fun, and then come home. I mean, they're far away from home. They're already scared. They shouldn't be scared about their weight as well.
okay. I forgot to mention this. One of the old campers, he's now a counselor. He's like, hey man, Tim, I was in Chipmunks last year, so that's when he knows about the secret hole in the floor and shit like that. That guy, I think he's in other shit. I can't point him, but he's got like the spiky blonde hair in like all the movies that he's been in, I think. But he's also the guy who is getting paid to smuggle in food.
Which, yeah, it was strange. It was like because he looks familiar, like you were saying, but maybe this was one of the ploys that he had to do to, like, hey, I'm on your side. So see all this candy I just smuggled in for you? You don't have to think about that I'm going to be doing anything bad. So he was just doing this as kind of like a facade of being like being a follower to their ideals.
Tony's
Right. So
ideals.
then they wouldn't suspect him of bringing in stuff because
I
he is
also
on our side. This kid is.
he eventually sides with the other campers, but he's also like, I'm gonna create the demand because eventually I'm gonna get paid this summer for the supply. So really, that was a huge move for him. He probably had all this shit figured out as soon as he realized that fucking what's his name was gonna take over the shit. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
like, I'll dump out all the candy, and then I'm gonna fucking make some good money this summer. Even fucking Pat is paying him for like Oreos and shit. It's great. I'm just saying this guy should have got a name. I don't know if he got a name. Okay. So this is the best part. This was the part that made me sit up, and I kind of remembered this moment where, like, Tony's pressuring Jerry to, like, okay, who was it? He's not your friend. Who was it? And then finally Josh is like, hey man, because he doesn't like Jerry getting picked on. Josh is so fucking cool this way. He comes in, he's like, I'll tell you who it was. It was Seymour Butts. And that's a big, like, they're laughing at him and shit. And Ben Stiller's like, oh, you don't want to cross me or something like that, right? Or you don't want to mess with me. He's like, oh, I didn't realize I was messing with a man or something like that.
No,
And I'm
no,
like,
you
yeah.
forgot the whole part. He's
Oh,
because he gets him. He's like, who sees more butts? And he's like, nobody sees more butts than you, Uncle Tony. And that's what really pisses him off because he knows he's been got at that point.
right.
So then
Yeah.
he's like, nobody crosses me. And actually, it was so fucking stupid because he goes, hey, I like comedians. Perhaps I can book you on a tour. And that was his ending line. And he leaves. Everything with Tony Perkis is so funny because it's shit like that said so seriously, but it doesn't quite line up to with his own expectations of what he's saying.
All right. So we're left with, like, Josh just laughing. And it's like, and then freeze frame, fade out, fade back in, and it's an empty bed with his mattress rolled up and a pillow. And everyone's like, where the fuck is Josh? And to me, I was like, holy shit, this is huge. For me, that should have been the last time we saw Josh. For it to fully take effect, You know what I mean? That Ben Stiller got so mad that he fucking got rid of him. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
I'm glad he comes back.
it creates a very hilarious montage of like what happened to Josh. And the kids are like, I heard that he's living with the guy in New York that has no legs. I heard he's blah blah blah. But then Peter Berg has a cameo. He's a director, and he has a cameo as the cook. And he delivers my favorite line. He's like, well, he's dead. just that.
Right? Yeah, that guy looked familiar. So he's a director.
Yeah, he
I
directed Very Bad Things, Battleship, Pain and Gain. These are all movies that probably
Jesus Christ.
No, he's directed better. Like Lone Survivor was a hit movie. He did that one. That was a good one.
All right. Maybe open up with that instead of Pain and Gain and
yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
all
okay.
these stinkers. I'd be like, stick to cooking.
This is when the movie like gets even darker, though. They kill the blob. They dismember the go-karts. Tony cancels lunch due to the lack of hustle. And then like
that's one of those lines sorry, but due to a lack of hustle, and then he just shrugs. I've always remembered that line and that little like, like they're gonna go hungry or whatever. Like that's one of those things where it's like I just always, even if I didn't remember it was from Heavyweights, I just remember those certain moments. I don't know, it's weird.
But yeah, then after that, Jerry, he's writing his grandma, telling him all that stuff. And it's the dance, man. It's all about the dance.
You kind of missed a little bit. Part of that little montage where he's writing, like they eventually, he says like, things are terrible. We're vandalized by Camp MVP. They fly by and say, you suck. And I'm like, what does that have to do with Tony? Camp MVP are assholes anyways. I don't know. It's a good movie, but the writing isn't as polished as it should be. There's just some things here and there. Yeah.
Well, he's writing his grandma. He's telling his grandma everything, man.
But it has nothing to. Okay, whatever. It's fine. And then the last thing was like, we're so desperate, and they're like chasing the cow for meat and stuff like that. Okay, so next we are at the dance, and this is when Tony purposefully invites the all-female camp to come in for that dance, knowing it was gonna play out like this. And it's just sadistic. It's so fucked up, and it's so painful. The girls are all on one side, the guys are all on the other. Are you familiar with this at all, Scott? Were you the guy who's just kind of leaning against the wall, like, fucking posers everywhere, man?
I was never made to go to dances as a kid, and so I never really did. I don't have any memory as a kid going to dances like this, or this being, and maybe this movie scarred me to where I thought that this was what it was going to be like, so I just did not.
Yeah, you didn't want the counselors to have to start the whole thing and get the juices flowing and shit like that.
As fun as that sounds, no. Did you experience dances like this or what?
It's pretty typical. Like it takes a while for people to just start, and it is kind of awkward. And I myself am not much of a dancer. Not that I can't dance, but I have no need to, I have no desire.
You just like to get paid for
it. Yes. But it's only while I'm going through college, Scott, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And you're about out of college, right? Because you keep taking one class just to like continue to strip for money.
Yeah.
I'm still technically in college, guys. You've been in that one class for how long?
Okay, so again, I just want to reiterate, like, when Julie shows up and she's like, hey, Pat, how's it going? And he's kind of like, oh, God, I'm so fucking nervous. But what he does is like, look at Lars. Isn't he stupid? And Lars is dressed up. He's into it and shit like that. And I don't know. I'm like, what's the matter with him? He's got
Yeah,
a
Lars is
turtleneck.
he looks great actually. Thanks for mentioning that, Pat. And he's having a great time, which you are not. So jealous much? Full on hate Pat at this moment because I love Lars so much, I guess.
Okay, so Julie says like, okay, so this is messed up. I actually have a friend in child welfare, and there has to be something he's doing that's not right. So I should probably bring this up. And then uh, Julie's like, oh no, Pat is like, oh my gosh, these boys, they're still afraid of women, ha ha ha. And Julie's like, oh well, you want to dance? And Pat's like, oh God, you're fucking nervous. Oh my God, my tie's too tight.
I
So
can't.
yeah,
I sprained my hurt bottom. Yeah, it's good. I like this moment just because he's blaming behavior on the kids that he himself is also going through at the same moment. But that's
okay,
when
so
like,
this.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention something what the girls say on the other side. Do you have anything written down about that?
I do not.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's three of them, and they're like, why would they do this? Like, why would they make us stand here? Like, why can't they just lose weight? And the one turns and she's like, oh, well, maybe you could teach them how to throw up afterwards. I'm like, holy fuck. This
Yeah,
is
that was a
fucked
cool
up.
moment. Yeah.
Cool.
No,
We
cool
have a
because
bulimic.
well, no, I'm saying cool because that girl's like calling her out on her shit. Like, hey, don't be talking shit about these people if you yourself are going through something. They're going through being overweight. You're going through anorexia. Fuck you.
Bulimia. There's a
Sorry,
subtle difference.
sorry. Bulimia. My
Oh
point
my
stands.
gosh.
It's the
Okay.
end.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned when you watch this movie, you're like, oh, I'm a fat kid, right? When I was younger, especially in high school, I actually thought I was kind of overweight, but I never was. I was really skinny. I, in fact, had anorexia back in the day, and I didn't know it. It wasn't until like afterwards where I read up on the subject. I'm like, I did. I thought I was kind of overweight. I never was though.
Right.
Because I remember one time a girlfriend of mine, she's like, oh yeah, something. I just really like scrawny guys or something like that. And I was like, scrawny? And that's when like my eyes cleared and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I am like really bone skinny.
No,
So yeah.
that's wild. How old were you when that happened? Like when you had
When
that
I
revelation?
15 or 16, something like that. Yeah. So I had that shit. So imagine how hard it is now knowing I am overweight.
Oh, hey,
And you wonder why I
hey,
drink.
I'll tell you what. I'm surprised we don't have a bunch of commenters in there going, "What a cutie pie!" Because this motherfucker cutie pie.
All right. Well, anyways, there's another scene though
Let's wipe the
where
blushing off your face. Sorry, you're blushing a bit. Let me get that.
okay, so this scene, I thought this girl was kind of mean to do this. She like just walks away from the crowd right up to the guys, and the guys are like, "Oh my gosh,
Gee, she's coming over.
what's happening?" And it's like slow motion. She's backlit and stuff like that. And she's like, "Hi, do you know where the bathroom is?" And they're all like, slowly turn, point to the bathroom that's right behind them. I feel like she clearly knew where the bathroom was, but this was a typical mean girl move. And yeah, I didn't really care for her.
You forget she's also a child, and children are fucking stupid. They're not thinking beyond what they're doing, man. She probably went, "Oh, I'm about to piss my panties. I gotta go find this bathroom very soon."
No, no,
Who
no,
might
no, no, no.
know? Who might know? These fat guys might, since this is their camp. That's
They
all there
look like
was
they
to this.
pissed. No, okay, I have to disagree. What I meant by okay, when you said, "Oh, she's a child," she didn't know what she was doing. I assumed that you said you were agreeing with me, like, yeah, she did this on purpose, but she didn't realize just how fucking cruel that was to a young boy. Like you get all these young men like, oh my god, are you looking at me? And she's like, yeah, I have to fucking pop a squat. Where's the shitter, you fucks? You know?
But after this, she's seen dancing with all the other kids as well. So she's not, I don't think she's doing anything malicious with the intent to be malicious.
Okay, she actually dances with Jerry.
Yeah.
But I would, if I was Jerry, I'd be like,
But
I
she
don't know.
doesn't give him a hand job, so she's a bitch.
No. Okay,
That's where you're.
I have a thing called pride, and it has hurt me several times in terms of getting laid. Like if a girl like slights me once, but then a year later she's like, "You're actually kind of cute now because you went through puberty." I'm like, "Back off, bitch." And that's what I felt like Jerry should have done. Like if she was like, "You want to dance?" and he's like, "Bathrooms are over there." Remember that?
Bathrooms are over there. Oh my gosh. No, this is exactly why we are miserable people. All right. Because we can't get over the small stuff like that. I'm happy that Jerry got over that. All right. I want to be like
Right.
Jerry. I want to get over small, stupid shit, but I can't. I latch onto it just like you.
All right. So finally, Tim has enough of this. He's the skinny guy. And so he's just like, fuck this. He goes up and he just starts dancing. And Pat is like, stop, you're embarrassing me. But then he slowly realizes, I over exaggerate just how nervous Nelly he is. But eventually he realizes that Julie will probably like this because he kind of looks at her and is like, "Yeah." So he jumps in there and
Guys, come on! They see how much fun we're having, they'll join in. It'll be contagious.
he starts dancing as well. Julie joins them, and then the boys do, and finally the fucking girls get in on it. And it's actually really kind of fun. You know, I was getting swept up in it, and right then, that's when Ben Stiller shows up, shuts the whole fucking thing down. His his plan didn't work, and I'm like, what a bastard! Like this was just the change up was so good to me. And he's like, put away the fruit trays. The insect tree will be out soon, or something like that.
This is just another moment of a line being said by him that's supposed to be like super something, but then it's so what? You put the fruit trays away, the insects will be out soon. You're supposed to be a villain, and you're saying shit like that. It's so funny.
It honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Stiller just improved all his lines, you know?
Yeah,
Because honestly, like he is the best part of this. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. And it's such like if you added up all the minutes of the movie of him in it, it'd probably be 15 minutes. But I'm just sitting there waiting for his next moment where he's going to say something like that.
Was this your first Ben Stiller movie?
Probably without even knowing it, because I don't even think I realized it until years later that it was him. Because you don't watch movies like that as a kid. You're just kind of like, oh, this is what I'm watching. Then later on, yeah.
All right. So, yeah.
I was just going to say this brings us to one of the nicer scenes of the movies. Right after this moment, you know, Jerry's upset. He's sitting there in this broken down go-kart, and then Pat walks up and they talk about how like the place stinks now and it didn't used to always be like that. Jerry's like, I've never ridden a go-kart. I'm so slow. It would have been nice to be going fast. And I'm like, oh. And then Pat's like, you know what? You about to go fast out tonight, boy. Jumps behind him. Like starts running around this go-kart course with them. And just, it's such a fucking cool, beautiful moment between this adult male and this young kid who, like they're kind of looking up to each other, I guess is how I look at this, because there's a scene not too long after this where Jerry like reminds Pat of who he is and what he's doing. And that's
right.
helping these kids. So it was just kind of it's one of my favorite. It's one scene that kind of stuck out to me. When I watched it again, I went, oh my God, this is bringing back so many emotions I had when I was a kid watching this movie, because it's a cool moment.
Oh, for sure. The cynical man in me now noticed this, where he's like looking around, and I'm sure he saw in his peripheral, oh, Julie's gonna watch this. She's out on her balcony. She's gonna get so wet.
Yeah. She's gonna get so wet. Now that you say that, I didn't notice that he was like looking around. They did have the clips of her kind of watching, and she's pretty lit up, so there's no way he missed her being over there. So he's not being good to be a good guy, but we know he is a good guy, so it's okay. We'll give him a pass. Well, at least I will.
Okay, so next, it's at night, and Jerry's sleeping, and then we see a silhouette arrive at the door. The door opens, and Josh is there. He's like stumbling, like, kind of babbling, like looking up and shit. This is straight up from what movie? What are they parodying? Do you know?
I have no idea, because I love this moment in this movie. I have no idea. Josh was bad. Josh now good.
That was awesome. And then when he like that's let me just get this out of the way. The Josh, that actor, is fucking hilarious. He was in The Mighty Ducks. He was in this. I know he was in a lot of sitcoms. I remember that. He was in like Mr. Rhodes and the Tony Danza Show and shit like that. None of those shows went anywhere. But yeah, good guy. Awesome talent. But anyways, this movie, or the scene, is parodying the scene in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I didn't know that at the time when I was a kid. So I was just like, what happened to Josh?
I've never seen that movie, so that makes sense why I didn't see the reference.
Apparently the one kid got the reference. The lobotomy. Maybe not. He just assumed, I guess. But when Josh snaps out of it and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? They're like, so what happened? He's like, well, basically, my dad's a lawyer. And when Tony kicked me out with money back, my dad fucking kicked it in high gear, threatened him, and now he's back. Again, awesome to see him back, but it would have been so much more impactful if he never did return,
I just don't like how the movie would play out without him, though. I feel like he has so many more scenes where it's great with him being there.
Oh, I agree.
I wouldn't want him to not be there for those scenes.
Right. But still, I'm just like, I kind of took away from that moment where I'm like, he fucking killed him or something like that. Like,
you still get the moment. You just don't get to think he's dead anymore. Why do you want to think that in this beachy movie?
Because he's fat.
Oh.
And I am not one of you guys, man. I have
Accept it. Accept your fate with us now. You are one of us.
All right, fine. Pass the chips. All right, so after the next day, they decide to break into Tony's cabin while he's out running. And they're gonna just look for candy, basically, right?
Right.
Yeah. But what do they find, Scott?
Ooh, they find something even worse. Well, I mean, just something bad, which is their letters, all their letters, which is looking like 150 letters between the 8 of them.
No. Remember, this is just one.
Oh, right. This is the one bunk.
We tend the movie just focuses on the chipmunks, but there's everyone's letters are in that thing. So
yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then they also come across a photoshopped poster Jerry's face on a skinny kid, and like Tony's like has him on his shoulders and shit. It's hilarious. Okay, but then Tony starts to show up, and I'm like, oh my god, and then they have to go back for Nicholas, who's eating peanut butter and shit. Why am I writing this? There's a lot of things where I'm like, oh yeah, that happens. They
Yeah,
barely
well, I
escape
mean,
what they do.
I'm the same thing because I'm like, okay, so then Jerry pushes Nicholas out the window and then boom, fart to the face.
Oh.
Nicholas farts in his face. Tony hears the fart. He starts to come in and he's like, I just heard, he's like sniffing the air. So I'm writing all the same stupid notes down like that. We don't necessarily need to talk about, but it's a good moment of the movie. It's funny. It's in there. So why not? But the fact is, they do get away, but then they hear a kid with some rapping of maybe perhaps food related items.
Yes, they kick in the bathroom stall, and there's some guy. I think it's the redheaded dude.
I found it.
Yeah, and he's like, I found this."
But that kicks off the whole. We see that there's this whole other side of the camp where people are getting food snuck in through a tree stump, which I guess is awesome, but unfortunate for our chipmunk crew.
Unfortunate. Well, because they gain weight.
Well, unfortunate because they didn't know about it until this time.
Oh, right. Yeah, and this is being run by the ex chipmunk, the betrayer. You know, the one who was like, "Hey, man, here's their secret stash." But yeah, this is him just fucking making that money and stuff like that. Even Pat is in on it. He pays for food and shit like that. So next we have the weigh-ins, and this is where Tony is still recording. You know, he puts it on like, "Hey, what's up?" And Kenny's like, "Oh, we're not recording yet." He's like, "Well, then tell me when we're gonna record." Shit like that. I love the ups and downs, the manic
yes.
ups and downs. It's good. So yeah, they're gonna have weigh-ins, but everyone's gonna weigh heavier. I think one of my favorite parts was like he calls Josh to get up there. He stands for a second. He's like, "Okay, get off the phone.
Get off the scale.
Okay, then.
Turn off the camera.
And he has a little breakdown.
How you doing, little Tony? Bad.
I loved everything about that because then at the end he's like, "That's it, 20-mile hike," which is an insane amount of a hike for anyone, let alone all these kids who just proved they've gained weight at your camp. Oh,
but Pat does try to speak up. He's like, "Hey, that's crazy, man." And then what does he say? He's like, I don't know. He puts him down,
I think to subject the kids.
You know what?
and no one really stands up for Pat. They could have all just finally said something, but good old Pat is by himself. He tried, which leads to our next scene where Jerry's like, "Hey, man, at least you tried," and they start yelling at Camp MVP from across the lake, like, "You could keep your washboard abs," or something like that. "You're a bunch of jerks."
and this is one of the scene that I was talking about earlier where Pat was like being there for Jerry and now Jerry's being there for Pat. So it was just kind of fun that they had that back and forth for each other.
Yeah, and this moment where they're like, "They're jerks. You guys suck. Keep your low blood pressure and like healthiness and shit." But I also wanted to be like, "Hey, man, there's some people that is, especially when I was watching it at my age, I was like, well, I'm not fat. I'm not a jerk." And I dated a woman who should, by all accounts, be extremely overweight, but she never could. It was just her fucking metabolism. Like, she ate horribly. I ate horribly. I gained weight. She never did. And she would always, she would get mad for people talking about how skinny she was or whatever. And remember that there was a movie called Real Women Have Curves?
I do not know. I have no idea what that movie is now.
It's some fucking random movie in the video store. But she would always take offense to that. She's like, "You know what? People get, make fun of the fat, but then are, criticized for it, but no one ever criticized people for making fun of the skinny people. I'm like, you got a point.
Yeah, I mean, I think
And a
people
great
are.
ass. Oh.
I think people are very good about recognizing that nowadays, and kind of calling people out on it at this point. But yeah, fortunately, she had a great ass for you the entire time.
Okay, so after that, after they're yelling, they are kind of thinking like, okay, well, something has to be done about this Tony guy. So he says, Pat tells Jerry, he's like, okay, go on the hike, and make sure everyone's okay. Meanwhile, I'll be back at camp, and the adults will think of something. We're gonna take this guy down, So I like this. They both have a little bit of a plan. So on to the 20-mile hike.
This is the day when we separate the men from the boys.
I don't remember the kid who looks like Andy Milonakis,
Yes.
right?
Because he falls down. And then Tony shows up and immediately is like,
Leave him. He's a straggler.
He's a straggler. The weak must be left to defend themselves. I was, or something like that. Again, that's a reference to his fucked up childhood. He'll sprinkle his
because
backstory throughout the movie.
It's still also funny, but also giving us his own backstory, which is helpful in us not hating him completely, because you got to have like some sympathy for your villain, I guess, or at least it's helpful to have some.
Yeah, he's fucked up, but he probably could have been a normal kid, but yeah, privately tutored all of his life and shit like that. Okay, so back at camp, this is where Pat, Tim, and Julie are like, oh, we gotta think of something like that. And Kenny happened to show up. He's like, hey, that bastard owes me $600. So they all look at each other like, and so they'll come up with the idea of showing the footage eventually. So that's cool.
Right. And this is actually one of my favorite scenes that pops up right here, where Cody wants to have fun, and then Tony is like, oh, you want to have fun? Great. And then just jumps off the cliff like he's going to kill himself, but like jumps on a nearby tree branch and is just hanging off. And then he's like, starts doing pull-ups, and he's like, hey, Sam, come join me.
Sam, why don't you come out and join me?
Oh yeah, I'm on my way.
And he's like, oh, I'm on my way. But like everything about that is so fucking bonkers and just funny to me. Like I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because then Jerry says something and he's like, we need to do something about this guy. And then it's like, and then suddenly Tony is there.
Yeah, man, but what? What's that? I missed it.
I missed it. Like,
oh,
we just need a little rest.
Right. But the way they did it, it was just sound effects of flipping, and then like
it was so quick. It was immediate. Like wish, here he is already. No way could he have flown from that branch to this space and time right there.
Okay, so finally, while he's doing Tai Chi or meditating, I guess, they're talking and they're arguing and shit. He's like, what's going on here? And they're like, well, someone thinks that you can't do a sit-up without sight and hearing or something like that. And Tony's like, oh, of course it's true. Like there's a lot of abdominal muscle myths that need to be dispelled or something like that. I don't know what he said. So he they set him up so he could fucking do a sit-up into Josh's ass.
All right, everyone ready? 1, 2.
And he comes up and you want him to hit the ass so bad, but you have to remember it's a PG movie. They're already pushing the envelope at this point. So he doesn't like fully hit it. He just kind of stares directly into the anus creepily.
Okay, so this is where he gives chase to Josh.
Yeah,
right.
He starts chasing the motherfucker like, oh, I want to get you. I don't know what he was planning on doing, but dude, if someone did that to me, I'd be pretty pissed off too.
Now, was this planned? Because he does fall in that hole. I wonder if it was planned because they never actually said like, okay, no, here's the plan. You know what I mean? Because they
Yeah,
saw
I
the
mean, we
hole
didn't
on the
get
way
to.
there. Yeah.
While he was meditating, they had to do a bunch of this stuff because they could have pretended to be meditating, like, oh, meditate, meditate, whisper, 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 meditate, meditate, put some leaves over that hole.
Okay, so the kids show up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, check out what happened!" And they got him in the cage. Uh, Julie likes it and believes them that he snapped, which he did. Like, who knows what he would have did to Josh? He could have straight up killed
Oh my
him,
gosh.
left him on the side of a railroad, like Stand By Me, you know? Uh, Such a needless movie reference, too. Just okay, so but then Pat's like, "Oh my gosh, what the?" Like he gets in there, he's like, "Sorry, Tony, this is nuts." And Tony's like, "Yeah, it is nuts. I'm gonna have you fired or some shit like that." Like immediately being an asshole.
So
Fucking
much
Pat puts
worse.
the tape back on.
Like, yeah, it wasn't even directed towards his job. It was like, you're the worst type of person in this world. Like, you're worthless.
You worthless piece of...
I was like, fuck, Tony. Like, I know you're upset, but read the room, man. This guy was the only one here to help.
Read the room.
Read the cage area you're in.
Yeah, read the cage. Okay, so now they start to take over the camp. They tie up Lars to a tree, put honey on his chest.
They cover him in honey, and the way Jerry, the actor, says bears love honey, he's having so much fun at this point. Like, I didn't really feel one way or the other about Jerry this entire time, but the way he reads this line and just enjoying this moment made me love him so much. I have no idea how to describe it besides just like if we played a clip right now of him saying bears love honey.
Bears love honey.
So silly and fun.
Right, I agree. I would have to say this actor Jerry, for a main lead or whatever, doesn't really leave an impression. Like you like Keenan more, you like Josh more, you like Sam more or something like that. He's kind of just in the middle. The typical protagonist is supposed to be like, oh, so the audience could see themselves in that person or whatever, but it's like, yeah, well, I have a personality, so I don't see myself in him. But that one scene where he gives you a little something with like bears love honey. Yeah, for sure. And that's stood out to me as well. It's great. And then they leave, and then Lars screams, and he thinks that deer is a bear. He doesn't know any better.
They don't have bears, huh? It just turns out to be a deer. Yeah, it's good stuff.
They take down all the signs, put back up Camp Hope. And then this is a weird fucking scene. So they go back to Tony. They play a cassette tape, and it's like, "You're a loser, Tony. Like you have no value." And like they're throwing his old words back at him. But it seemed very excessive. It seemed, slightly Guantanamo Bay like to me.
I mean, he was already going crazy, but if anything helped him get to the point that he got to, it was definitely that. That was pretty fucked up from those kids.
Yeah, and then we are introduced to the fact that it's electrified. He fucking zaps himself, which is pretty fucked up. I mean, I've seen the movie House Arrest, and they didn't electrocute their parents; they just locked them up. You know what I mean? But this is pretty hardcore what they're doing to poor old Tony here.
Yes, poor Tony, who's been a complete piece of shit this entire time. Poor him. But it's also like it's hard to not feel bad for him because he didn't he's not doing this because he's an evil person. He's doing this because he doesn't know any better. He doesn't have the tools to function as a normal person.
It's very true. All right, so now we have what I just wrote down as the overindulgence party. It's at night. There's a fire. There's fucking all the food you could ever possibly want. Fucking Tim is off the wagon. He's like fucking eating food, junk food, and shit. Um, and at this moment, Pat and Julie are sitting there, and Pat's like, I should check that out or whatever. And Julie's like, no, stay with me. Takes his hand or whatever.
Oh, so beautiful. Such a great moment.
They fucking hooked up that night, man. Because the next morning, that's when Pat's like, I'm a man now and I'm in charge. And, like, it to be true, Scott.
I didn't even think about that, but that is so funny. Yeah, you're right. They had to, because he changed a lot in a very short time frame.
Yeah, she thought so too.
What?
She's like, that was short.
Hey, you know what? I believe that Pat had it in him to last a long game.
You sure? He's like, it's been years. You're just so pretty. I'm sorry.
Where? Oh my gosh. These are deleted scenes we're talking about here. You didn't see this part because you didn't watch the deleted scenes, and they're not available.
They're in the Disney vault, I'm sure. And then this is the part where Lars, they're like, hey man, you gonna join us? He's like, I love you, like. So yeah, Lars, as I always knew it or figured it out recently, Lars is a cool guy. It's cool.
Yeah, he doesn't care where the money's coming from. He just wants to be here.
Right. Didn't they say, like, if you don't have a job, you're going to get deported?
We found out that if you don't have a job, you get deported.
So at this point, they just had their crazy ass party, and they wake up the next day because apparently everyone ate themselves into a food coma, and they start to wake up. So I really appreciated this moment because Pat was there. He's like, hey, just had sex for the first time. And I want to say, we need to take responsibility for our own weights. And then they start exercising and learning about fruits and veggies and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool that he could kind of lead the charge to help them better themselves without the crazy tactics Mr. Tony Perkis was trying to use.
Right. But, it just makes you wonder, like, had Tony never shown up, apparently Pat never would have had them exercise. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So.
And it could have been the nurse afterwards. Or she's like, you want to keep going? Well, you got to get the kids to.
This could have been after sex talk. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm just really worried about the kids' health. And he was like, oh yeah, me too. Like ever since I got here, I've been thinking the same thing. I really got to get them in shape.
Even though he's been there for 18
years, never once, yeah.
But you know what? Love will do that to you, right? Love, Scott.
I believe they're in love. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I just
Parents' Day.
Parents
Day. This is a moment where Jerry's dad walks up, Jeffrey Tambor, right? And he's like, look at you. You look the same. What's happening here? Like, what's going on?
Oh, terrific. Jeffrey Tambor only in 3 scenes, but brings it. He's hilarious. I'm a huge Arrested Development fan. Yeah. Okay, so this is where I think, Tony, he's going to get out. He's going to manufacture a chocolate kiss.
Yes.
Out of the tin foil.
Out of aluminum foil, yes.
Yeah, that's but what did he do though? Didn't he just overblow the circuits by sticking a fork into this?
That's literally all he did. He put a napkin around the fork and then just blew the circuits out, and then he placed his hand out with the kiss going, hey, you've been doing such a good job as the guard. I just wanted to reward you. What? Oops.
Whoops. Butterfingers.
And,
Just
and the
straight, get in here. You let me out of here, you little shit. Oh, fuck.
That's right. That was the British kid, Nicholas, right?
Yes, poor,
Yeah.
poor Nicholas. Falling for the
Wow.
oldest trick in the book. A kiss.
If I was writing this movie, this is the one joke I thought of. He's like, "Oh, you want a kiss?" And then he's like, "Oops." He drops to the floor. It's like, "Oops, Butterfingers." Nicholas should have been, "Oh, you got Butterfingers too?" No, that's
Ah, that would have been good. That would have been
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I was wondering where you're going with that, but that was good.
Okay, so but meanwhile, at the main cabin or whatever, the counselors are finally putting their plan into action, showing the footage of what he's been doing to them this whole time. There's a little bit of liberties in the narrative. Like there's a shot where they pretend to eat a rat.
Right. Josh takes out a rat from wherever and just slices it open.
So good. So yeah, all the parents are like, "What the heck?" and stuff. And then Julie's like, "As a registered nurse, I know that this is not healthy, mentally or physically to these kids and stuff." And there's a lot more footage of just what he put them through and stuff like that. I think the funniest part though is when it's him and Josh. He's like, "Okay, hey Josh, how do you like the food?" And Josh is like, "Oh, it's great." And he's like, "Wait, you're stepping on my lines. Let me say," that was awesome. And again, showing just how funny these two men are. The fact that, Josh was a boy, but those two comedy legends in my mind, Scott, had once.
You're putting Josh as a comedy
together.
legend?
What? He's hilarious.
I will say that he's a very funny person. It's unfortunate that he didn't get like his own show or something to where he could have latched on and been a good sidekick for somebody, but I don't know about calling him a comedy legend.
Well, I said in my mind, but if you don't respect that, I understand.
I do not.
Speaking of
Just kidding.
You don't understand. Speaking of Josh, though, do you know what happened to him?
I did hear about like him getting hooked on the druggies, and yeah,
But he turned it around apparently.
Saw the pictures and whatnot. Didn't look good. Too bad. I don't know.
Okay.
That sounds really like dismissive and mean.
Not at all. Not at all. When you said the druggies, I was like, "Oh, this
and
is the man."
Oh, poor boy. Too bad. Anyway, back to the movie. No, it's very unfortunate. That's why I say that I wish that he would have found some footing in some type of something a little more like memorable, because like you said, he landed some guest spots on TV shows, but that just wasn't ever going to like be something ideal for somebody like him, who I feel like had someone taken him under their wing, like Judd Apatow did, because he's the writer of this movie, did with Seth Rogen. He could have helped maybe this guy, come into something else.
Right. Yeah, because I don't know I don't remember the actor's name, but Josh has natural screen presence. He's got a great pace and delivery, and yeah, he's hilarious. Anyways, so finally Tony shows up. He's like in a window way up in the rafters.
Just clapping. I must say, what was he? Did he? I think I'm confusing my own things. Oh no, because he actually does say, I put this in quotes, which is why it's confusing me. He's like, I must say the villain was a little bit over the top. Jumps off of the thing, spins, lands, ouch.
Ouch.
Oh my gosh. And then he proceeds to like, "No one can stop me," he chugs a drink because he's probably hasn't drank in one, smashes it. He's smashing all this glass and he's just willing himself to walk on this glass.
Nobody can stop me. I'm too motivated.
But it's Jerry's dad, fucking Jeffrey Tambor, who fucking punches him in the gut finally.
And that doesn't even stop him. What stops him is himself. because he's like, oh, punch to the stomach. I'm gonna do a bunch of backflips, whoosh, 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 and then like misses the last bit, slides and hits his own head onto the wall.
Uh, but yeah, that's the end of him. His dad shows up, played by Ben Stiller again. It's great.
What kills
And
me about this character is that because he calls himself Papa Perkus, but have you ever seen the Ben Stiller show?
yes.
So he's playing the character from that, where this character that he's doing keeps going, do it, do it, do it.
No,
And
no,
he
no.
never
Do it.
he never once says do it in this, and it drives me fucking bonkers because I'm sitting there going the whole time like, say it, just say it, say do it, say it, please. And then no, nothing.
Oh man, double points for you with the Ben Stiller show reference. That's fantastic. Yes.
I'm a fan.
Okay, so yes, so Tony's dad is like, okay, well, I'm gonna close this. Goodbye. I'll give you guys your money back and shit. And they're like, what? No, we can't have this happen. So it's like, okay, fine. I'll put someone in charge who's been here the longest. Turns out it's Pat with 18 years. He's in
Pat
charge
Finley.
now. Pat what?
Pat Finley was his full name. That's all I said was Pat
Oh,
Finley.
was it? Oh,
Yeah.
no idea. It doesn't suit him. He doesn't look like a Finley.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like a Pat, but yeah. Okay, so now Camp Hope has fully returned. They have the Blob. They took Camp MVP's boat engine. What's worse? Driving by saying like you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck, and spray painting some stuff. You know what I mean? Spray painting some stuff, or completely stealing their boat engine.
I didn't think about that, but you're right. I'd say it's pretty fucking bad that they took an entire boat engine. But at the same time, they're Camp MVP. They've got probably 6 other boats over there. They'll be fine.
Why do we assume because they're all skinny and fit that they have the budget for this?
Because they all have matching fucking uniforms for their baseball team.
That's where all the money went. The uniforms. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to argue. All right. So, and then they're also rebuilding the carts because we get to the end. This is like an epilogue, right?
Yeah.
Ben Stiller's gone. I'm like, oh, like when I'm watching this the second time, like he's gone now.
I actually don't have any notes whatsoever for after Papa Perkus. But it's not that I don't enjoy this last part. I just kind of was like, all right, well, the movie's over. Like you said, it feels like an epilogue. I'll just watch this. And it is their little showdown at the end. They have their little race and it's fine. But I don't give a shit really.
Well, this is a very generic summer camp movie cliche. They always have the big tournament at the end where you can finally prove yourself and stuff like that. But I would say that being fat has nothing to do. I don't know.
Well, they were losing super bad at first. So the fact that they were able to catch up and win makes me think that were they not able to do that any other year? Because it seems like Camp MVP is full of fucking idiots, which I don't think I can sit there and name the art that was being told, but 5 vice presidents, sure, why not? I'll do it right now, but don't ask me to.
Well, let's tackle this thing in order. I just have the events. That's all I have. So this is the Apache Relay, and it's so nice, Scott, as a Native American, to see the cultural appropriation that we see happening right here. So blasé, so casual. Meanwhile, the other camp MVP, they're dressed up in like togas and shit like that. So more cultural appropriation. I don't think all of MVP is all Greek. Am I right?
As a white guy, yeah.
I just thought that it was pretty clever of me to point out that not all the white guys are Greek on that side. If you're going to address one cultural appropriation, you have to address the other. So there you go. All right, so let's start. This is the very first event, the sack race. What do you know? The fat kid can't jump in a sack, or yeah. Nothing. Is that strictly for fat people? Because some people can't sack.
Have you ever
race.
sack raced?
No. Have you?
Yeah, against children, but I murdered it. So no worries
Oh,
that I
okay.
would definitely be the best anywhere possible.
Okay, so right now, Camp Hope is far behind, or behind. Next is some soccer stuff. Next is some balance beam obstacle course where they have to help the fat kid up there and shit like that. I have one question though. There's no fat kids that go to MVP?
No, otherwise they want to be MVP. Come on now. Come on now.
What kind of camp is this? They call themselves MVP. Is it like, oh, if you were the best on your team, you automatically get to come to Camp MVP? What is Camp MVP? Because Camp Hope is a fat camp. What is that?
It's a very good question because we apparently have Camp Pretty Girls, Camp In Shape Boys, and Camp Out of Shape Boys. So is there a Camp Out of Shape Girls somewhere as well?
Oh, yeah. That's the sequel. Heavyweights 2, 2000. Well, they need some time to film it. 2023, Heavyweights 2, what's the subtitle? Quick.
Overweight. Heavyweights, overweight.
Heavyweights 2, overweights.
Yep.
All right. All right. I'll take it, man. That's cool. Okay, so next we have zip lining. That's not, you could be fat and still zip line. There's nothing hard about that. Football throw. We see Keenan make a good throw.
Kills it.
But again, nothing to do with being fat. Shave a balloon. Nothing to do with being fat at all. Scott and I have made challenges, and this is kind of like a challenge, right?
Yeah, it actually, I wish I would have watched this a few years back when I was still doing them because that sounds like a lot of fun to attempt.
Yeah, for sure. But Josh is able to do it because it's like he's been shaving a few years now, you know? But I'm like, what, none of the skinny kids grew? Again, like I just need all of it to fit into the theme, you know? Next, we have the Hall of Intelligence, where you'll have to do a math problem. Skinny kids can't do math.
Going on with skinny kids can't do math. That math problem I don't even understand what was going on in that math problem. Maybe it's because it's been about, I don't know, 18 years since I saw a math problem, but I don't remember them being like that.
Yeah, pretty complex. I think it's the British kid that comes into the clutch. I think he's the one that kind of picks us all up. Well, no. Football throw, shaving balloon. That was Keenan. That was Josh. And now Nicholas, the British kid. But yeah, he fucking kills the Hall of Intelligence because he goes to the fine art. He knows exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if it wasn't for this kid, well, I guess the MVP are pretty dumb because they don't get any of this shit. 5 vice presidents. Let's go.
Oh, I already said that I would be able to do that at a moment's notice, and I don't feel like, so that's it.
Al Gore.
That was the first one that came to my mind as well when I was thinking about earlier when they did it.
Biden. Nixon. Oh, I don't know. I don't know a fifth one. Fuck.
You don't remember one of the 5 that they said in this movie? You don't have that in the notes?
I'm not trying to cheat. I'm trying to do this thing for real. I'm trying to think of 5 vice presidents.
Why not Harris?
I already said Harris, dude.
Oh, I thought I didn't remember you saying that. That's how bad my memory is, Vince.
That is bad. All right. And then finally, we come to the go-karts. And Pat souped up this fucking cart.
Cheater.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Listen, they kind of cheated though on the drive though, because the kid like was knocking into him and made him go through the woods. And
true. But okay, say you and I, Scott, we got in a professional boxing fight or whatever, right?
and I had souped up gloves
No.
that I could turn on, just like
No. You know what happens? You fight me, but you fight dirty. You like hit the crotch and, like you poke me in the eye and shit like that. But I'm on steroids the whole time. Who's the bigger cheater? The souped up cart. That's what I'm trying to get at, man.
I was really thinking about it too. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, but yeah, you're right. The souped up is, bad boy.
Yeah. But I mean, come on. Like, what are we kidding? When we were kids, it was great for him to fucking fly off, over the bad guy's cart, get the win. Hope Camp Hope wins, right?
Yeah.
And they got the trophy. Yeah, they got the trophy. But remember what the guy says? The other camp leader, he's like, "We're gonna be filing a complaint or whatever, we're not gonna accept this loss." The souped up cart. That's probably what it was. Like, this is bullshit.
They really did gloss over that, like, kind of like, no, you guys fucking crazy, whatever, Bert. He's like, throw that shit in the lake so there's no evidence.
No, that was because he's like, oh, is this all that's important to you? Is just winning, right? So he gives it to the one fat kid who never utters a word. He's like super quiet and might be on the spectrum. But like, apparently he just knows to toss it in the lake. Did they talk about this beforehand?
He feels the same way, man. He doesn't need some trophy showing that they won.
Yeah, but I wish he would have uttered. I wish he would have said anything. I think the only thing he says is, "He's coming." Yeah.
Right.
So it's just so bizarre that Pat and the kid that seems really fucking delayed knew that this is, hey kid, maybe that's what he would have done anyways. It's like, by the way, don't ever hand this kid a trophy or anything. He'll toss that shit in the lake. So yeah. So he's like, the evil camp counselor is like, you're crazy. He's like, yeah, I'm crazy. And he grabs Julie. He's like, crazy about my gal.
Oh man.
And then
that's the end, basically.
It ends on a swear word. He's like, what's his name? Captain. He's like, Pat, thanks for giving me the best damn summer ever. The end. Yeah.
Oh.
This movie was full of, I mean, I got to give all the props to Ben Stiller, Josh, and Pat coming up as a good quasi lead. Would you call him the lead? No. Yeah, I don't know.
He was when I watched the credits, he was billed first as
really?
the starring
Sweet.
people. Yeah.
Nice. Good for him. Yeah, because I don't think I've seen him in much of anything. He was in Seinfeld episode once, but who wasn't back in the 90s? And then he was in Frasier, but he was kind of like on every other 5 episodes, something like that. So yeah. And Julie, very pretty woman. I don't know where she's gone from here. Do you know where Tim went off to?
He's Paul Feig. He was he ends up being a very famous director.
Controversial, infamous.
Bridesmaids, Ghostbusters. I wanted to just say Ghostbusters, so you'd be like, what the fuck? Why would you name that out of all the movies?
I forgot he made Bridesmaids. I've yet to watch it.
Oh, sorry. I think he might have just executive produced that one. He made Spy with Melissa McCarthy, though. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? There's so much trivia out there. Maybe you can let us know out there in the comments.
Yeah, yeah. If you watch this, don't be afraid to like and subscribe, comment, and I will try my damnedest to respond this time. Or Scott will. Scott can.
Yeah, I will too. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I got things.
Are we waving goodbye? What was
No,
that?
I was just letting them know I had fingers to respond.
One more time. All right. Well, hey, that's the end of the movie. We'll probably talk about some more. I have some ideas on other movies to talk about, but we'll see how this goes, right?
Yeah, we have been talking about doing Congo next. So it's not a boxing movie. He was just doing this, but we'll probably do that one next. So we will see you then.